Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Afternoon Drive Home, found on IC Radio. We're in the town of Geraldine, Alabama. I bet Misty didn't know that. There's a radio station in Geraldine, of all places. But thank you again so much for watching. Now, you can also find us on television a couple of ways. You can find us on channel 182, and that's on Charter Communications, and that's in North Alabama. You can also find us on Abundant TV, which is found worldwide, and you can find that on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Everybody knows I'm a huge cheerleader for Northeast Alabama Community College, and we have an awesome guest with us right now. Really pleased to see her. This will be her first time on the show, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be the first of many, many times. And this is Misty Merilien. Is that how do I pronounce your last name?
Yes, that's correct, Merilien.
Okay, awesome. Good to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, always. And again, we love Northeast Alabama Community College, and the outreach that's in the community is just awesome, not only with teaching students, but with the parents and the all-around community as well, with the plays and all the different things that are happening. Now, you are a work-based learning coordinator, adult education with Northeast Alabama Community College. So talk with us about that, Misty. What do you do?
Okay, so yes, like you said, I am the work-based learning coordinator for the adult education program. So I'm based out of Marshall County because Northeast Alabama Community College covers Marshall County as well. So my satellite office is actually at Snead State. Sometimes that's a little confusing, but we have a great relationship with Snead. And so sometimes I help out Snead's workforce development program. I help out Teresa Walker, Greg Randall, Sherry Bernard at Snead, but then also I have a role of helping out our different sites throughout Marshall County. We have English as a second language in Albertville and Gunnersville, several GED sites, including here at Snead State, at Gunnersville, Arab. So I'm kind of the support system for the teachers, and I also help the students with career pathways. So once they're ready to level up, move on, I can point them in the right direction.
Oh, that sounds great. Let's talk about career pathways. What is that exactly?
So it can mean many different things depending on the student. So for example, maybe a student is English as a second language and they have really leveled up in English, but maybe they do not have a high school diploma. So I can help them prepare for the GED, get signed up for those classes and point them in that direction. Or maybe they are a GED student or even an English student that has a high school diploma and they want to go to college or they want to learn more about workforce. I can point them in the right direction according to their needs.
Absolutely. You know, workforce development, that's very important. You know, yes. Times have changed. It's not like it was back in the 70s and 80s when I was out there looking for a job, but so many things play into that. And we've talked about workforce development, but what kind of careers are you talking about?
Well, it could be really anything. It could be in manufacturing, welding. Here at Snead, there's industrial technology. At Northeast, there's construction, there's CDL. So there's a huge range of need in this community.
Yeah, and you just mentioned some really good ones, and they're really good paying jobs as well.
Yes, they are.
And very seasonal. And it's great to have that diploma or that certificate so you can get those jobs. A lot of jobs available.
Yes. And a lot of the industries are very supportive of the programs, whether it's adult education, helping them get their GED. Then we have others that might support English as a second language. And then there's others that, you know, they want their employees to have that workforce development background before entering into their employment.
Absolutely. And to have that certificate is something else. And I wanted to mention workforce development. Those jobs are group jobs that actually grow through you or grow with you throughout life. I know if you want to work for someone, work for the man, you can do that, having a certificate. And then later on, you want to go out there and do it on your own. Welding, for one thing, is huge.
Right. It sure is.
And then later on, you want your own business, you can do that. Then I happen to know someone right now who has worked welding his entire life, and he is retired, but he works on a retainer for some of the companies in this area. If they need training or whatever. So whatever your life brings you, you can work.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
So I know there are a lot of jobs available out there, and we're at this pivotal point right now where a lot of folks have retired from those jobs. And so now we're looking for somebody else who can just pick up the torch and run with it. And
Right.
we're looking for quite a few of those. So what's brought about so many jobs that are available?
What's brought about so many jobs that are
Yeah, why
available?
are there so many?
I think there's just a variety of things. You mentioned people are retiring out of the system, and then, of course, the pandemic changed a lot of things. Whether people want to work or not, or they see more options that are available. And then now that we're kind of past the pandemic, I feel like people are looking for work, but there's just so much higher demand because of just many different issues.
Mhm. Yeah, I think so too. It's just brought about so many different things. Let's talk a little bit about women who are handling some of these jobs now, because manufacturing is different than it used to be years and years ago.
Mm-hmm. It sure is. There's actually, and I support this program here at Sneed State. It's the Women's Fund class, and it targets women at the 200% poverty level, and they have to be mothers. They have to have dependents, and they get several certifications. I wish I had the handout beside me, but they go through Ready to Work and get that certification. And then they get different certifications that are related to manufacturing and other things. And this class also supports the women by helping them with transportation, and they help them find childcare. They don't guarantee childcare, but they help them find childcare. And the goal is for these women to be able to find a job, like a first shift job, so that way they can go spend time with their children after school hours. So it's a really program. We're about to finish up a class here at Sneed at the end of this month, and then a new one will start mid-September. So the application deadline has already passed, but I think they will still take a few more applications up until the starting day.
I think that's pretty awesome. I know
Yes.
a lady who has been in welding. I know at least since the 1970s, but she has a different act on it. She makes jewelry.
Oh,
And
okay.
she's a welder. And I'm going to tell you what, those pieces she has, she sells all over the country, all over the world, basically. And so I went to her shop one time. She's on, plus, I don't know if she's still there or not. We used to live in Oxford. And so Main Street, Oxford, she had a place looked like Tiffany's as you walked in. I mean, it was nice, posh. And so I was there one day and she said, "Would you want to go to the back where the fun is?" And I said, "Yeah." So I went back there and she had every possible machine you could ever think of. And this way she uses art form, and just makes one of a kind jewelry pieces. And
Yeah,
so I think folks are learning how to look outside of the box.
absolutely. Yes.
And those are jobs that are safer than they used to be years ago.
Oh, yes. There's more training and there's more need. So that's why there's training, because they're desperate to have workers trained in those fields.
How has computers changed the way we do business?
It's changed a lot. And in fact, we do have a partnership with Tyson with the English as a Second Learning class. It's called Upward Academy, and they're wanting to incorporate digital literacy. So we're going to be able to teach just different things like the human resources app for the students, and teach it in English and what that all entails, because it can be confusing, like setting up your password, username, and all that stuff can be confusing for someone that speaks English already, even more so if you don't know the language, or if you don't know the characteristics or the symbols. And then also we're going to teach basic computer skills, such as how to operate a computer, to the internet, to PowerPoint. There's many things out there to explore.
Mm-hmm. Now, are jobs also available in the medical world, the medical field?
Yes, absolutely. And we have started this new program through the community college system that's through adult education, called MAPS. And and don't ask me what MAPS stands for, because I don't know that on the top of my head, but one of the modules is actually in healthcare. And so, anytime you see some sort of specific training, that there's a need.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And we learned this from the pandemic. If we didn't already know this, if you're in the medical field, you're always going to have a job as well. And any of these are that way as well. I see Brandon Thompson. Is Brandon Thompson supposed to be on the show with us today?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you know Brandon?
No.
Okay, we'll let it go. Could be just by mistake. But Brandon, I'll get back in touch with you just a little bit later. I just saw he just popped in to the Zoom class. But yeah, I mean, the way we do everything is totally different now. I've been in television since the 90s. And I remember back in the day, if you did a remote, you had to have a camera guy, you had to have a crew, you had to have all this kind of stuff. So even for the show I have, it's just my husband and me.
Yeah.
And because of all of the automation, so computer jobs, IT support, that kind of thing, those are always going to be there too.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
We touched on women in business and manufacturing and that kind of thing as well. But I also wanted to mention how safe the manufacturing jobs are now. And it's because of the automation and computers and that kind of thing. I was thinking earlier, Brandon just went out. I think he might have got his date mixed up.
Okay.
But I was thinking about when I used to work with a company called GTE, and this was back in the 1990s. And so I would step into a manufacturing company, and I was a corporate and government account rep. And so I would go into a lot of those manufacturing companies and talk with them about wireless solutions and that kind of thing. I would walk in, you would see a big banner that would say like 10 days with no injuries on the job. I mean, it was just like, and I was almost afraid to walk in. I would say, do I need a hard hat to walk in? Because I'd go and take tours of companies, that kind of thing. But man, some of these manufacturing companies are like a hospital now. They're so clean.
Yes, and they have on staff. A lot of times they'll have a nurse there. I'm seeing more and more like small medical clinics being set up in some places. So yeah, I agree. It's a lot cleaner. It's a lot safer, and the numbers are a lot higher as far as days without an accident.
Oh yeah, because I'm gonna tell you that used to be a fear that I have not going any of those. I want to talk just for a few minutes about, and we talked a little bit about, the certificates that are available. What if someone works for a company? I just need your advice on this. So, what if someone's working for a company right now and they just want to better themselves? And are there chances where a company would actually reimburse someone who is getting a certificate to better their role on the job?
Yeah, there has been some instances. We're currently working, I can't say the company right now, but we're currently working with a company that's in Marshall County, and they are willing to pay for their GED once they're ready to take the test, all 4 parts. And I think they're willing to pay for it twice if they need to take it again. And then we worked with another company where they have paid for their time for taking classes. So yes, it's definitely an option these days in different industries.
And that's great. And an employee that gets out there and they want to better themselves, employers love employees like that.
It's great. It's great for retention, and it's great for morale.
Absolutely it is. I wanted to mention this too about Northeast Alabama Community College and also Sneed. And I went to Sneed, by the way, took accounting classes, wound up not being an accountant. So I'm doing this. I know they're a great, great school. But, COVID kind of changed things. But I was really impressed the way Northeast Community College and the way Sneed bounced. I mean, they jumped those hurdles. So because, and again, we're talking about automation. Zoom has a lot to do with it as well. So are you still offering online classes?
Yes. So at the college level, both schools are offering online classes. And then also in the adult education level, we do have classes that meet during like Zoom meeting like we are right now. And it works out very nicely. It's amazing to see how students pick up on technology because they're just eager to learn.
Now let's talk about actually securing a job. Again, we're not talking about the 1970s anymore. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have all those things. But let's talk about actually applying for the job. What are some do's and don'ts? That's just changed with the times.
So do's and don'ts for applying for a job. You don't lie on your application. or your resume. Be as accurate as possible. Be sure to communicate everything very well on your application and resume, especially in the interview process. Be sure to know how
Is this the
to
time
write
to
your
kind of
resume.
brag about yourself a little bit? Is this the time to brag? I mean, because you've done things. I'm going ahead and speak up and tell the Mr. or Mrs. Employer about that.
Yeah, you're actually selling yourself in an interview. You want to research the company, you want to know the job description, and you want to relate your background that applies to that job description, and to tell them why you're a good fit for the job, whether it's your personality or whether it's your job skills, whatever it's your work experience, whatever it may be. You definitely want to be able to articulate those things, and also to have questions in the interview. Ask them, things like, is there room for promotion in this position? Stuff like that.
I think that's awesome. And I'll tell you something else. I wish we'd had this back in the day as well. And that's the internet. That would have been so helpful back in the day, because now you can actually go online and go to their Facebook page is a great place to go to, and just see what the company's like, what do they do. And I'm going to tell you something, anybody I'm interviewing with our company, if they show and express an interest and they've done a little research and they know a little bit about my company, that scores a lot of points as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that means that they want to work there. If they've researched the company and put in the effort, well, that shows you as the employer that they're willing to put in the effort on the job too.
Absolutely. Just a few minutes left in this segment, but I wanted to go over this, and this is the dress code. How should folks, back in my day, you wore a suit, but we don't do that anymore. So how should you dress for a job interview?
Well, you should understand the culture of that particular company. You may dress one way to interview at Walmart, but you may dress another way to interview for a lawyer's office. So understanding the culture at Walmart, khaki pants and a polo shirt might be fine, but at a lawyer's office, you might want to put on a business suit. So understand the culture of the company, and of course, always it's best to overdress than to underdress.
Oh, yes, I think so too. Absolutely. My granddad, who had a 9th grade education, was actually a superintendent at a cotton mill. And my other granddad, who had a 6th or 9th grade education, he was also worked for the USDA. Now, you got to have the degree now to have those positions, but they would interview folks a lot. And they said one thing that they always did, both granddads said this, they would watch people on the way out and look at their shoes and see if their shoes were clean, see if they were scuffed up. Do people pay that much attention to shoes anymore?
I guess it probably depends on the person, to be honest. I pay attention to details, so I probably would notice the shoes, and I'm a shoe person by nature. But yeah, clean shoes, I think, do make a good impression on a person too.
Nice clean shirt, pressed, that kind of thing is really
as long as you're showing that you're trying your best. You don't have to have the best outfit from the luxury store. You can, if it's secondhand and you're clean and you're pressed, that's what matters.
It does. I know we do a lot of business at Shepherd's Cove Thrift Shop, and look at Highway 431, and there's a number of ways that you can find clothes there.
Oh, yes.
You really don't have the appropriate thing. And I'll have to tell you for my own self, I buy their shirts and have my company logo put on them.
Yeah. I bought about 3 dresses that still had the tags on them for less than $10. So, yeah.
So there's
nothing wrong with that.
There's no excuse. So you can do that. Now, talk with us as far as companies. What can companies do to work with you guys? I know you're there to help for employees.
Yeah.
How do they get in contact with you?
Well, yeah, they are welcome to reach out anytime. And that's part of my job too. I do reach out to some of these companies that I feel like could benefit from our services. So I do networking, I reach out to businesses. And so just having that, relationship and that communication started and going from there. Yeah, it's pretty simple. There's nothing complicated about it at all.
Just get in contact with you and just kind of give you a job description of sorts.
And I can share that information with our students, and then I can also share, our services to these companies as well. It goes both ways.
Absolutely. We're so glad that you guys are out in the community helping us. So what are the hot jobs? Are there hot jobs right now? Because I think there are job openings all over.
Marshall County hot jobs would be every poultry plant. And so a lot of them are offering sign-on bonuses. If it's a second shift or third shift job, it's a big difference. It used to be like $1 an hour difference. Now it's up to $4 an hour difference if you have perfect attendance, especially I think at Pilgrims in Gunnersville. So right now the poultry business is booming. And then hospitality is booming in Marshall County too. We have a lot of new restaurants, especially in Albertville, and we have a couple of new hotels in Albertville. So hospitality and poultry are probably our top two in Marshall County.
Yeah, I've noticed that every time I go to Albertville, it's almost like there's a new building. Yes. Almost every single time. There's a big movie theater going across the street.
Yes, and that's going to open in the fall, I believe.
Wow. So they'll be looking for some employees. So now's the time going ahead and start getting that, get that certificate ready.
Right. And on the note of safety and hospitality, we do offer OSHA 10 for free. So, and we do have it in English and Spanish. So if companies out there are interested in OSHA, we can provide that. And it's a 10-hour course, and OSHA covers all the safety protocols in different areas. So just wanted to throw that out there too.
Yeah, I'm glad you did, because that'll put you way ahead of the line of everybody else.
Right.
So, oh wow, yeah. Now, what is the waiting time right now for jobs? Like if you go for a job, I know it would depend on the manufacturing company or the company period, but is there a waiting list right now?
Not that I know of. I haven't heard of a waiting list. I think some places are actually hiring on the spot. Depending on your background and experience. That's what I've been told. Used to companies went through temporary services. That's not really the case anymore. You can pretty much walk in the door, apply, and be hired pretty quickly. For the most part, I don't think there is a waiting list.
Are there temp jobs out there available anymore, or the company's kind of going away from that?
There's still some companies that still use the temp services, but there's been a pretty decent decrease over the past year or two.
Let's talk about once you get the job, and that's keeping the job. And there's some things you need to do. You might need to do something that's not necessarily on the job description. Is that true?
Yeah, you need to show up and be responsible. Show up on time. If you're sick or if an emergency happens, communicate that. So yeah, that's huge. It's very important, because if you don't show up, that employer might think, well, they don't want the job, and give it to someone else.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you, my granddad, I told you about, he worked for the USDA, actually used to work Wayne Poultry. Used to be Wayne. I think it's called something else now.
Yeah, Wayne Farms.
Yeah, Wayne Farms. And so he worked for them a number of years, but now he worked his way up. Ninth grade education. And of course, now you got to have those certificates. But he worked really hard to get to that point.
Yeah. And if you're willing to work hard and show up and show that you're interested in moving up, you have pretty much guaranteed a job security.
Well, and I want to say this also, and this is from experience. My brother-in-law owned a business, and he retired from the business. And so he decided he wanted to go back to work again. I think he was driving his wife crazy. So he had to work. He thought he was going to retire young, and that didn't work out. So he said he was going to go to work at McDonald's. And we were off on the job. The business he had, brought in a lot of money. So he wants to work at McDonald's. Why is that? And so we all asked him, why do you want to go to work at McDonald's? And he said, well, to prove something. So he started out flipping burgers. He was doing the jobs that nobody wanted to do.
Yeah.
Well, that got the attention of the higher ups. So he wound up with a really big position with McDonald's simply because he was an older guy, walked in, flipping burgers, grabbing a broom, sweeping when not being told to, those kinds of things. I mean, you'll
Yeah,
move up.
taking initiative. Taking initiative is huge.
Yeah, you'll move up very fast with a company like that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, we've got less than 4 minutes left in this segment. Time flies when you're having fun, especially when I get some information. Misty, you've been great to get that information out there for us. Is there anything you want to make sure that the community knows about as far as what you're doing?
Okay, so like I said, my main role is specifically adult education. I do, like I said, work with workforce development, but I just, want to emphasize we do offer free classes for GED. We have day classes and night classes. There's locations at the Aberville Career Center, the Arab Adult Education Center in Arab, the Gunnersville Adult Education Center in Gunnersville, and then also here at Sneed State Community College in Boaz. So like I said, the classes are free. We have them in the morning, we have them at night. The instructors are wonderful. And then we also have English as a second language in Aberville and Gunnersville. In Aberville, it's morning and night, and they meet at the Crossroads Mall. Those classes are booming. That's been wonderful. And then in Gunnersville, the English as a second language is at nighttime. And I have a couple of phone numbers I can share if people want more information, or I can give my phone number. That's fine as well.
Okay. And then I wanted to ask you another question. This is for business owners. Are there classes in Spanish that folks can take? That way you can communicate with all of your employees.
We might can offer resources, but being state funded, we only can teach English. We can't teach Spanish. But if they're interested in Spanish, there are resources like Duolingo is an app that you can put on your phone. And then there might be others that are online as well. But as far as teaching, we just focus on English as far as language goes.
Okay, that sounds great. Misty, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, of course.
It's been a pleasure. We'll have you back often, okay?
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, Misty. My name is Donna Fiesel. Thank you so much for watching Afternoon Drive Home on IC Radio in the town of Geraldine, Alabama, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182. And Misty probably knows about this. It's on Charter Communications. It's out there in Marshall County as well, channel 182 on Charter Communications. You can also find us on Abundant TV, which is also found on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. We do appreciate you listening to us, and really check out Sneed State, okay, in Northeast Alabama Community College. We're really lucky to have those two colleges in this area. Great training departments, and the folks really do care about the students. We appreciate that as well. Again, thank you so much for watching, and looking forward to seeing you on the next segment of Afternoon Drive Home. You take care. Bye, Misty. It's good meeting you.
Bye. Thanks.